Well, welcome everybody. Hope you
Hi.
enjoyed that great opener soundtrack. Just felt it was very
Unrelated?
fitting for
Oh,
Oh, okay.
very related.
Turns out it's very related. Look, I don't want to dodge around it, Jordan. I don't want to make jokes, pretend it didn't happen.
Mm-mm.
It happened. This weekend happened. It was
Yeah.
it was not what I thought would happen in
No.
virtually any manner. I mean,
Right.
trust me, I allowed for the possibility of us losing, but whew, that weekend hit different. And
It did.
as our boy Dan Seals said, we are 3-time loser.
Yep.
Oh man, but welcome everybody to Under Talk. We're going to talk it out. That's what we're here for. You can always go to your dad's. Talk to us
Mhm.
about anything
That's right.
League of Legends related. Please don't talk to me about personal problems. Oh man. Well, um should we that thing we were talking about making an announcement, should we do that right now at the
We should
top
do
of
it
the pod?
after our other announcements, which is
Oh, okay. Which is we have some thank yous in order.
yeah. Yep.
Thank you first to Elgato. I've
Ooh,
got my
nice
Elgato
mug.
mug because I saved. I'm down to my very last ripit in my supply. And of course, I saved myself Citrus X.
Yeah. Gotta.
And then I forgot to cool it for tonight.
Oh no.
I wanted this to
Yeah,
be
you're gonna have a
a
mug.
victory Citrus X.
Yeah.
So now I've got the ice in the Elgato Oktoberfest mug 1 month early.
Welcome to the mug club, Cole.
I'll be sure to dump it in my lap. So thank you to Elgato, not just for the mug, but for the lighting equipment that we are making wonderful use of and the stream capture stuff. I love my Camlink Pro so much.
Yeah.
I can't describe. Words can't describe how much I love it. And then, of course, to Rip It as well for providing the best tasting energy drink in the world. As always, camera focus on the Rip It. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and crack this open, do a sad little pour. Schmilly's asking for the Steve mug. Which mug do you have? Is
Oh,
that one or?
I just cycle through them. I got the Steve mug. This is the 100T mug
Oh,
tonight.
dude, I have the Summoner's Cup mug
Oh my gosh.
available.
I
Shout
don't think I
out
have one of those.
to the beginning stages of the pandemic. And then I also have the one you've got
Yeah.
nearby. Always keep them nearby. All right.
Plus the Papa mug right up there.
Oh, yeah. Nice. That one
Yeah.
is elsewhere right now. Not related to how I feel. So let's make that calm. let's do that really quick. So ton of takes that were sent into us, ton of questions had to do with the roster.
But why?
Could it be we had a very weird feeling loss this weekend?
Yeah. Perhaps.
Yeah. I understand it. We are going to hold off on most of the roster talk until after Worlds. There will be things here and there, of course. And we're not completely writing off everyone's takes or anything like that, but we've still got League of Legends to play this split, and based on some things that are happening that could shift how everybody's feeling about the roster. That said, just at the onset, we're not going to go into this, but it did have that kind of feeling to it, didn't it?
It did.
It felt a little bit like the last hurrah for these 5 guys.
And the only thing I'll add is, we'll if these takes are still relevant, I'm sure people send them back in once we get around to that point. It's on my mind. I'll share that as well. I think well done. Look at this. He's pouring that right into his lap. Before we got to this point, like it was before playoffs even. I think we had started to talk a little bit about it, and felt like this team can still prove that they are absolutely worth running back it with. I don't think that's the right order.
Running it back and up.
So that is, they still have more to play. There will be no roster changes between now and Worlds, barring some unforeseen catastrophe. And I think for that purpose, mostly and alone, you can hold on the roster stuff. Like there will be plenty of time to talk about that, but we still have to play League of Legends this year. There's still more to do. Yeah. So please, no roster changes between now and then, that won't be good for us.
Yeah.
So let's wait. Let's just wait.
And then don't feel bad, for having those thoughts and,
Yeah.
and things too, because it makes sense. Like there are
Mhm.
some people who think, you can't criticize the team at all,
Yes.
because of what they've given us, and that's not the case, right?
Right.
Everybody's always subject to criticism. Just as long as it's not personal attack stuff, and as long as we're being reasonable, then we'll have those conversations, and those conversations are coming.
Yeah.
But it's probably more important at this time, at this juncture, to work through some of the difficult feelings we're having as we as we think about what on earth just happened this weekend.
Yeah.
This has to be, I mean, Jordan, I'll just ask you, this was later in the rundown or whatever, but like, is this the saddest second place finish ever recorded?
Yeah, it is. Honestly, yes. Um, I second probably only to spring 2022. Right?
Is it second to that? I don't think so.
Oh no, no, sorry. I mean, that's second to this. This
Yeah,
is
yeah,
the
yeah,
worst one.
yeah,
Yeah. It's followed closely by is what I meant to say instead of second only to.
yeah.
Followed closely by that one. But yeah, yeah. It just because at least with last split, we made our way back in roaring fashion. We got back there and we played and we didn't win, but we played.
Mhm.
This one, it's like, boy, did we limp in to that final and then didn't look like we were ready for it, you know?
Yeah, and it was the second one in a row, and yet
Yep.
again, we put our names in the history books of the fastest final series. So
This is the fastest
this
again.
was the second fastest. So someone may correct me in chat, but I believe now the stat is that we are involved in the 4 fastest finals ever.
Yeah.
1 being one that we won, and then 3 being those that we lost. So someone may correct me, but yeah, I believe that's the case. And this one just hit a little different. Like the gravity was just a lot more severe this time around. I think
Mhm.
because of expectations, because of the time we've spent getting invested in this roster, and just general sadness because we all love these guys so much. I think we've grown to love this 5-man roster like just on a different level, right? Like we love these guys. These are our guys. And so to see them want it so bad and to lose it, that's really tough to see. Now I want to go back to something you said, because you said, boy, did we limp in,
Mhm.
right? And somehow lost in all of the conversation is the weirdness of the Evil Geniuses series. And I definitely want to spend some time talking about this because,
Yeah.
man, that was, I mean, I have trouble. And like, look, we're 100 Thieves fans. We are made and forged in like cardiac trauma, right? And this still felt like maybe the most roller coastery series I've ever seen across 100 Thieves esports. Like
Yeah.
this was wild.
Yeah. This feels a little bit like, in baseball every once in a while, they'll be like, hey, oops, he got 4 strikes before he was out. Like everyone just forgot to strike him out at 3. And so he got like it kind of felt like we lost the series, but then somehow ended up playing a little bit extra and making it through. Like on a technicality or something. I thinking back, I still can't really I couldn't tell you how we made it out of that series. You know? Like I can't point to a moment or something that we did that was like, oh, but then like somehow it wasn't even a reverse sweep, but it felt
No.
so much more doomed than
Yeah.
reverse sweeps we've done, you know? It was so bizarre, dude.
Yeah. I actually like again, skipping ahead to our rundown. I just think it's funny that you mentioned that, because one of my questions about this game is, do we even know how we won this?
No.
I
And I
could
don't
not
think anyone
tell you.
else does.
I
Yeah.
the story of this game is so weird.
Yeah.
Because we like didn't, so first of all, that first game we have like the Senna Tom Kench, and when we drafted the Tom Kench, I was like, all right, I think I literally tweeted it. I was like, all right, like on to the next game or something. Or I think maybe I tweeted, "Oh no, Tom Kench." Is that
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
I think what I
Did
ended
you?
up tweeting.
I thought you went back and retweeted it from the last time we drafted Tom
It
Kench.
probably was. It
That would
probably was.
that would have been appropriate.
Uh and it just, I know that we've gotten a win or two with it, but that and closer Poppy, which has devolved into like a pick that we just can't sustain. Like he looked good when, I don't know what the difference was back then when he looked strong on Poppy. It was, I don't know, maybe he had more people along for him with the aggression ride, but
Mhm.
it was not this game. And the Tom Kench and Poppy picks were basically troll picks in this game. And I want to point something out because I
Tom
think
Kench
like
was so good. It was so good.
I think who he is someone that we don't
Oh,
talk enough about, as we always say. But and someone who has played extremely well over the course of this split. And having him on Tom Kench, I think what bothers me about it is it seems so antithetical to who he is as a player to have him on
it
that champ.
I couldn't agree with you more. It feels like an insult to Huhi to put him
Yeah.
on Tom Kench. It's just such a limited kit. And I know, look, every time I say anything like that, I know that there's going to be people like, it's not. It's like when we said there's no damage on Set, and then we watch Set just completely dismantled. It's like, look, I understand there are a lot of very specific and powerful things that Tom can do as a champion in League of Legends. Yes, it can be good situationally. I will never be able to shake from my mind that this team fight. I tweeted about this, and I don't tweet that often these days, but I felt compelled to tweet about this. It was a pivotal team fight around the Baron. He goes for like a tongue lash, misses because not the hardest skill shot to dodge in the game. It's no LeBlanc over the wall at Baron Pit.
Yeah, right.
So he does that. They dodge it. He then literally totters around in the river.
You're
And
doing the Tom Kench
I'm
walk.
doing the totter. If you're listening to, you can't see me, but I'm doing Tom Kench walking around the river. He's not super fast either. I don't know if you knew about this. So he's just chasing people who are faster than him, and he gets off like a couple of autos. And that is actually and literally his only contribution to the entire team fight. It is not a champion that fits him as a player. He is too good for that to be all he can do, miss one Q, and then walk slowly toward a tank and hit a couple autos on him. The tank didn't know that he was there, I promise you. Had no awareness of who he in that fight, and he was right next to him. So that's always what that champ ends up being for us like he took a couple abyssal voyages and missed because also unless you're us, apparently not the hardest skill shot to dodge. So
And if you're us, all
sad.
three of us show up on top of it.
It's a party portal if you're us. It's one-way ticket to next game. Just everybody gather around and let's see what happens.
Join me for game 2.
Join me. We're headed to game 2, boys. Let's roll. So yeah, it was horrible.
Yeah. So that pick was horrible. Look, elephant in the room too, right? With Kaori or Kaori. I think
it's a Japanese word. I don't know if that's where he got it, but it's kaori, right?
Do you know what it means?
We can call it Kaori. I believe it means. I'm gonna really out myself here.
He's gonna Google Translate real quick.
I think I know what it is. The first result here is a Japanese anime, so there you go. Perfume.
Perfume. Okay, great name. But I think we nailed this on the head when we, talked last week about this, because it was like, look, it's pretty unequivocally like better to have him in than Danny, because Danny was only at 60% basically.
Absolutely.
He was a shell of himself I think I even called him a cicada shell of himself
Oh,
on because he
that's
was still hanging
harsh.
on, you know? Uh,
That's
I
harsh.
nothing against Danny, you know, like he's going through what he's going through, whatever it is, and
Yeah,
like I'm glad that EG is letting him, you know, get back to himself. You know, that's
right,
really good.
right.
Kudos to him and them. But it's you know, it was just so obvious that he was just not what he is, and so
Yeah,
having Kaori in is I think like no brainer. This was going to be at least replacement value for playoff Danny, even with literally like 1 day of scrims, right?
yeah, yeah. I think that's absolutely right.
And I didn't think he was going to be as good as he was.
Yeah, he showed up, man.
But first game, like your first, you sub in championship weekend for
First LCS
who is
game.
regarded as, if not the best, the second best ADC in the league, and you start off 9-2-7 on your Lucian game. All right, not a bad debut for the kid. And the interesting thing is they draft this like the Lucianami power lane, which is a lane that during the full course of the season we actually looked pretty strong on. It
Mhm.
tapered off right at the end, as we know, but we looked like we owned the rights to that lane.
Yeah,
And then this sub came in and just wrecked us on it. Interestingly enough, we were ahead for like the first 25 minutes of this game. It was like it was relatively even slash we're ahead.
mhm.
And Kaori just kept getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And so did JoJo. Impact on the broken Ornn, you know, like it just all came together for them. And meanwhile, you mentioned who he's doing on the Tom Kench. Abadaga on the Azir, which typically I love that pick for him. Looked like he didn't want to get in and fight. Like every time I was just sitting there like, all right, now, now.
Yeah.
And he just
Here's
would
the one.
not get in there. He looked so hesitant. So
Yeah.
we looked out of sorts from the beginning.
Yep.
Now, do you recall how we won game 2? I don't.
Oh.
I literally do not. We were playing from a little bit behind. I know someday Fiora was a great pick
Oh.
into
Yep.
Impact. Someday did a lot. I think Abadaga had like a really good ult actually on the Azir in this one, like in a river fight, if I'm remembering right. That may have like turned the whole thing, but it wasn't like a super bloody game. But
Mhm.
it's all a blur to me. And it was like it kind of felt like we were still out of sorts until the very end of this.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've got people in chat calling it a throw for EG, and maybe
Mhm.
so. I mean, it was a quick like turn, but I don't know what we did. You know, I don't know what we did that looked like. There was no for me. There wasn't a sense of like, oh yeah, we're in control. We're calling the shots here. Other than maybe the someday Fiora pick, which was very good, right? It looked good,
Yeah.
and he pulled it out like at a good time. You know, everybody was kind of questioning him. And he came out and we won that game somehow in a blur with Huhi on Yumi. I don't know.
I gotta point out one thing really quick.
Yeah.
Uh, game 1, we don't ban Lucian. They play it, we
Yeah.
lose. Game 2, we do ban Lucian. They don't play it because you can't, and we win. Game 3,
Two, by the way,
we
so since we're talking about Kaori on the Zeri, looked like maybe the strongest player on the team at that point. JoJo also had a
yeah,
good Akali game. But anyway, go ahead.
yeah, he did. Game 3, we don't ban Lucian. They play it, they win. Game 4, you get where this is going. If we ban Lucian, we win. If we
Chances
don't ban
are we
Lucian,
win.
it's a 1-to-1 relationship here. We win all the games that we ban Lucian. I mean, but look, there's a part 2 to this, which is also we ban Sejuani every game. I
Oh
still don't
yeah,
understand why. And I've heard people try to explain it, and I can't understand what they're saying because it just doesn't make sense to me. So
maybe
that's
that 100 Thieves should have a contest for fans to come up with the best explanation of why we were banning
I
the
would love it.
Sejuani for the playoffs,
I,
and the winner
I would
gets a
love that.
free like archive item. Like, oh, you want a Geo hoodie from back in the day?
Yeah, please. But that, you know what that leaves you with? A ban. a ban that is not dedicated to either Sejuani or Lucian if you want to even have a chance at winning the game.
Yeah.
So, how easy is that to draft against? How easy is it to play against a team if you've got them into a place where, and I guess the answer is almost easy enough, but not quite to win the series in this case. But it's just like, we gotta figure something else out. And I understand that that's a pick that we don't want to play against, and it's fine. Like I understand why. I understand why you ban a champion. You don't want to play against it. I would say you need to figure out how to play against it.
That's what I'm saying, because there's lots of chat talking about like, oh, like this happened and this happened. There's Sejuani. It's like, how many weeks, how much time did we have to correct for that? Good
Yeah.
teams correct for that. You know what I mean? You can't.
Yeah. And
You can't just perma ban the champions. Like, nope, we refuse to play this champion. Like, look, if you
Right.
do it contextually, like 1 week or something, like when something comes up, that's kind of, that's kind of fine. I feel like. But if you like over the course of multiple weeks are doing that, it's a little troll if you're trying to call yourself a good team. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can't have that. It can't be the case that there is just a very meta pick that you cannot play.
Yeah.
It can't be. And it's not even like we're the ones who ban it every time. It's not like it's so busted that whoever goes red side has to ban it, right? Like that's the red side penalty. No, we ban it red and blue side. It's it's not our first pick when we have first pick, uh, and we ban it every time. So I get it that it can flex. It's hard to, but like that is true for other teams.
Yeah.
So
They have to figure that same problem out.
they're
I like
faced with the same challenge.
And I like what BC is saying in chat, which again, we don't typically read chat like while we do the podcast or whatever, but he's bringing up what's the trade off to do that if you have other issues. And I think that's what's underlying this whole thing. I think clearly there were like the team was just not ready and not probably, we've heard for a few weeks that 100 Thieves were doing poorly in scrims, right? And you see a problem like that go unfixed, it probably means they're focusing their time and energy on like more pressing problems, right? Which is like, okay, so like we are not in the right state. Jat kept doing his thing, picking against us, even when like we looked obviously stronger. I think Jat had some intel about what was going on behind the scenes. I think there's no other like explanation for that. It's like there's probably word got around that we were just playing out of sorts in scrims. And if you're good individually, you can kind of make up for that sometimes. And luck tends to run out the farther you get in the playoffs and the more games you play. So I don't know. It was like it probably speaks to us having more pressing strategic problems that we were trying to overcome. So that's, that's not an excuse, right? It's just
right.
that's
I
the
thought
reality.
I thought about this a couple times over the weekend. Maybe it was related to this, maybe it was something else. But the line that came to me was, that's an explanation, not an excuse. Like there is an explanation you can say on why you ban something. It doesn't excuse you from doing it. Spoiler alert, we did it every game against C9 too. And it just feels like it's too much of a disadvantage to put yourself out to get away with it. And I really do think like you have to look at that and say that is a thing you have to consider for the long term kind of evaluation of this team. And that's, look, I understand at some point they'll change Sejuani, and this, it's like I don't expect that it'll be 2027 in spring. Like still seeing that Sejuani ban. It was so craziest thing. No one's played Sejuani in 3 years, but they just keep banning it. Like eventually we'll move on, and the game will too. But you can't be a team that is unable to adapt, because that's the thing. Metas come and go. Some metas favor teams more than others. Sometimes a team just gets really fortunate with the meta, right? You might have your worst meta of the year week 7 in summer after you've already got a buy secured. Great for you. That's really good. If it's in the Worlds patch, less fortunate. You're going to have a harder time over a longer period of time. That's going to feel a lot more consequential if that's when yours hits. I'm afraid that we have problems in this meta that we have no answer for, and we're seeing evidence for that as the the patch continues. I know it's going to change too for Worlds, so we'll have to see what happens. Maybe they, I don't know, disable Sejuani. That would help.
Yeah, let's see if we know anybody on the inside who can make a bug happen.
See if we can, man.
But anyway, that took us to game 3, and you mentioned the Lucian thing. Sure enough, they pick it, and then we take what has to be our worst finals loss ever, right? We finished 21,651 gold behind.
That is so much.
I actually missed the first 15 minutes or so of this game when it was live, and like I stepped away at maybe like a minute into the game, right? And I come back 15 minutes and we're down like 7,500 gold or something.
Yeah.
I was like, what on earth transpired?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It was
how
it was a slaughter. And literally everybody got crushed. There was not a person on our side who had a good game. We got 1 kill the entire time, and guess who got it? Huhi on the Yuumi.
He saved us from being perfect games.
Yuumi was the person who got a kill. So that was just absolutely inexplicable to me. And I thought there was no hope at that point. I fully was like, all right, we got lucky to turn around game 2. We got beat pretty thoroughly game 1. We just got like an atomic bomb detonated on us for game 3.
Yeah.
It's over, And I'd already just like my mind is in, we're losing. Like, this is over. What do we do now?
Yeah.
Now, so I ask you again, Jordan, do you know how we won game 4? This is actually a pretty interesting game. First of all, we locked closer Poppy, which I tweeted, if we lock Tom Kench or Poppy again, I'm turning the game off and walking away. Now, I don't know why, but I stayed around to watch this. I don't know. I saw the Poppy come through for closer. I'm like, well, we just that old familiar phrase from traditional sports that like they want it more. That's what I felt like. Drafting Poppy for closer again was like, well, we just don't want it as badly as they do. And then the Huhi Mumu, which I've been back and forth about, but I have to give it up for him on this game because it was very good. And Amumu is one of those support picks where the stat line like usually doesn't look good for you, even if you have a good game, unless you just you have like a mind shattering game, but you're going in to die a lot of those times. And he did, but it was so critical what he was able to do in this. So I give a ton of credit to the bot lane and Huhi in particular for, keeping pace with this replacement ADC for EG and being able to be stronger in the end and affect things more. I mean, Abadaga and Talia, usually a very good sign. There's a twist to that story coming in the next series. Someday Renekton, never really sure. He plays that really well early, and then it's just cross your fingers that it translates. But man, this game was not as close as it seemed, like gold wise, even. Yeah,
we should point out Sunday was 2 CS off the Flame Horizon against Impact. So
oh wow, nice.
He was feeling real rich, and if you've got the Croc, that's how you want them to feel.
Oh, and into our old nemesis pick of Sion, right?
Yeah.
Like Sion is like historically a thorn in our side. And JoJo on Azir, which I've said the whole time, I know that Azir's gotten its buffs and nerfs and stuff, but I always feel like Azir is a really great pick. Like I'm a big Azir believer, and JoJo is on it. You got a champion that dishes out a ton of damage and has a lot of mobility and playmaking, and JoJo's on it, of all people.
Yep.
But it didn't matter. Abadaga, strong game. Closer on the Poppy somehow, strong game. Someday on the Renekton, strong game. Everybody played really well. It was like we remembered who we are all of a sudden.
Yeah. Yeah. FBI Zeri looked real good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which I don't know that I you know, I don't think we've ever played Should We Play This for that pick because it feels inappropriate given that it's like the number one champion in all of League of Legends right now. I love that also Zeri and Sivert. It's like every once in a while a champion gets too broken and you have to ban it. Everybody hates that. It's a perma ban. And then every once in a while there is just a counter. It's like it's almost like there's a GA, right? Where it's
Yeah. If one's
we're not
playing Zeri, the other's playing Silver.
like what happens in these games if somebody bans Zeri or Sivert? Did we see a different ADC for all of oh, yeah, Senna.
Yeah, Senna comes out.
My point didn't last very long. But it just feels like every game there's a handshake, and it's like, all right, you guys got that one. We'll take this one. Let's see what happens. Oh, okay, you won. Let's trade. Let's do that next time. Yeah, but yeah, I'm just definitely not convinced, and this is a problem that we can talk more about. But it feels altogether unconvincing. These two very very meta ADCs in our hands, which I don't like.
And Jordan, you'll never guess what we drafted for Game 5.
And I guess, by the way, before
in the bot lane,
what I was thinking ahead to was C9, where it was only Zeri and Sivert every game.
Yeah. We got the Lucian Nami chaos from this. But in Game 5, we drafted Zeri. They drafted Sivert. Got that unique combo going. Actually, we did switch it up, though. And we switched up in a really cool way, which is bringing the Soraka. Now, far be it from me to watch any LEC, but I understand that this was played in LEC. And game-changing pick, right? Like the Soraka, I think the Someday Gwen, I think that was the final pick, if I'm recalling right. I don't have draft order.
So, yeah. I think it was.
But I'm pretty sure Someday Gwen was the final pick. I felt like, I don't know, but at least we're getting fun with it.
Yeah.
With the Soraka. And then when the Gwen locked it, I legit knew we won this game at that moment. And I was like, I cannot believe we're about to do this because the Someday Gwen has been historically really, really, really good. And Gwen just seems to like, I don't know if it's the build because we're too stupid about items to know, but I don't know if it's the build or runes or whatever, but Someday is one of those players that gets that like extra premium of damage out of Gwen, it seems like. I
think he's usually just got item advantage too. Like he's a lane bully on it for sure. He takes advantage of that.
Yeah. So looked really great. Abadaga Azir finally switched on for this, which was also great. Had another FBI Zeri game that went well. I don't know. I don't think this was a case of us figuring out something about them. I think like what happens in these 5-game series, especially ones that are back and forth, is that like a superior team kind of, even if they drop a game or two, they learn about their opponent along the way and they kind of figure something out and they latch onto something and then they start winning. I don't think it was that in this game. I think by Game 5, we were just feeling more like ourselves,
Yep.
And that was the main difference. I mean, was this the only closer Trundle game of the weekend?
Yeah, I think so.
That pick, which I'm never a fan of, actually was really good into the Poppy, as people who are smarter than me know is usually the case. But yeah, I thought Closer had like an excellent game. There was no one on our team that I thought had like an underperforming game here. It's like everybody was kind of hitting the way that they should. We neutralized the Poppy. We neutralized JoJo on Ari, which is a difficult task.
Yeah.
And we came out on top, and I think it was thanks to this more creative draft, right? We saw who he keep people alive that should not have been alive.
Yep.
And he looked absolutely fantastic on that pick that we never saw again.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like it's rough that it took us this much back and forth and roller coaster and we don't even know what's happening to beat a team that has a sub player, like a last minute sub for the weekend. With particularly like some of their players like Inspired, he had an okay series, I guess, but like he hasn't looked like himself either. JoJo's been a monster, but like Inspired, not really. It just felt like beating an opponent who's like wounded or something. And it still took basically everything we had in the tank to get it done.
Right. We only just did it. And that's I mean, in some, on one hand, I'm reminded how good Evil Geniuses is, right? Like, if you rewind to before there's any question about Danny's ability to play at his peak, this team was rolling people. Like,
Yeah.
we beat them, but there were only 2 other teams that beat them through the entire split. They're a really good team. Their players are good, not just Danny. Like, it's not like it was the Danny show and then the 4 other guys who they found who could, log on and had accounts ready to go. It's a good team, and I think the 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 level that they played at with Kari is actually really indicative of that, where clearly Danny's kind of like reduced capacity was actually a net negative for the team overall. Like, there's no question about that. Because when Kari subbed in, everybody looked better and they played better. And it's probably only because they didn't have more time that they couldn't close out the series against us. And I, like, they'll be better by the time Worlds gets here, and that's good because we want NA to do well.
One way or another, they'll be better.
Yeah, like, they're gonna have more time. They'll settle in. Now, do I think they're gonna like? Obviously, this is not the EG podcast, but they've still got stuff they need to figure out and work through. But yeah, we only just beat them, and it was on pretty. And alternatively, we've had a lot of time, and we've been a team for a long time, and so how do you explain what's going on with us? Is I think the other question.
It's a weird one, right? And so I think the memory of this series will be a really strange one, especially because we came very close to losing this series very badly, right?
Right.
Thanks to a little bit of a throw from them in game 2. I mean, I was thinking to myself, like, during that game 3 when they were finishing up, it's like, they're 18, 19K ahead and smashing out our necks. So I'm like, at least they're not doing this in the Ninja Turtle jerseys. Can you imagine if that was the lasting memory of us getting hyperclapped in the ugliest jersey in the history of the LCS?
Yeah. Yep.
My goodness, that would have been really bad. But somehow we pulled through it. And I said in the group or in our I think maybe like on WhatsApp or whatever, when I was talking to you, I was saying, like, this Sunday is going to be a 3-0 one way or another. It's like when you go through a series like the one we went through in EG, you either figured something out about yourselves, and you got through that like gritty experience and now you're on top of the world, or it's kind of like what Abadaga said when we lost to C9 the first time this playoffs, you don't have anything left. Right. And I think we knew fairly quickly which one of those two situations we fell into when it came time for Sunday's games. We just had nothing left. There was just nothing left in the tank. We didn't look like ourselves. We weren't able to latch on to the, like, hey man, we like figured out a way. We have each other's backs and we made it happen and we're brothers and all this, right? We didn't latch onto that. It was basically like, we're done. we don't have any more ideas. We don't have any solutions to our problems. And not only that, but we didn't, like, I half expected in game 3. Let me look at this draft before I say this. Cause So I half expected in game 3 that it was going to be like guys, just play what you want here. Yeah. I almost think that's a smarter thing to do when you're getting beat that soundly, is just like, cause if you look at these games, I mean, I'm checking. I think this is true for all of them. It was like, we kind of were in control early,
Yeah.
At least there were a few key moments where it looked like, we had like 2K lead, 3K lead or something like that. And then every game we were able to throw it away. I don't know, when things are not working to that degree, especially when we're losing the part of the game where we're usually outplaying everybody, man, just go have fun and play what you're comfortable on. Screw the meta. Obviously don't draft the stupidest comp ever, but like, you know what I mean? Like, just within reason, just go out and play. Like, if FBI pulled up Kaisa, I would have totally been like, yep, let's do it. Let's go for it. I'm not going to flame this
Go
pig at
for
all.
it.
You
Right.
know, we didn't do that. I like it. Just we played this one straight and like suboptimally, right? We played it straight on an empty tank, and
Mhm.
it just felt like there was absolutely nothing we could do.
Yeah. I think Atomic T in chat just said when they drafted Nocturne Cannon, it was like, "Whoop, wish we could do that." And I think
Yeah.
that's exactly that was the moment I knew we were in for a long series, right? Like when we played essentially the same thing that we did against EG and just barely squeaked out the win. And then like the tech pick we had was the Malphite, which I don't know, it's undone past C9 teams. Maybe that's what they were thinking is like it worked before. But it just didn't look good at all. And I don't think it's because somebody necessarily misplayed it. I just don't think it fit really. Like it
Yeah.
He,
Yeah.
he was chasing. He was like, "Try. You're gonna ult a LeBlanc, so she just distorts back, and then you wasted your ult. Like, cool. Have fun with that." Um, yeah. For me, this is always one of the things that separates a team at the top, a title-winning team, in this case, from other teams. And it's okay. You guys are gonna try to get as many of the meta picks as you can, right? Through like you view pick ban as an exercise to see if you can outsmart your opponent and end up with one more meta champ than they have, and that gives you the edge. We're just going to pick Nocturne and Cannon, like, and then great luck to you. But you can't really like it's so hard to play against. Like all our team fight thing that we're great at is suddenly a liability because they'll just turn off the lights and then ult. And it just felt like they were that much further ahead. Like they had creative plays and they had looks that I think in the past, we've been able to do these kinds of things. I think all the way back to Karma, where I was like, that was,
Yeah.
other people were catching up to that. It just feels like we're very far away from that.
Yep. And that's unfortunate. You know, we didn't have any sort of real flexibility or practiced like things that we could throw a wrench into it, as someone's saying in chat. It was straight, and they on the other hand were prepared. You know, they had, like you mentioned, the Nocturne Cannon. They had the Jensen Zillion, which it isn't even a surprise pick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we saw that this playoffs. It's not
It's
a
just one he
surprise
can
pick.
play.
And Zillion is one of those champions that 100 Thieves just in 100 Thieves DNA, regardless of who the players are, we just are not able to play against that champion.
Yeah.
So, they had that sort of flexibility and ideas and you know all that stuff, and we just didn't. We talked about premium pocket picks, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, where was our premium pocket pick here? What were we planning on doing? And we got challenged, and I think like it's hard to look at this series and what happened and be like, C9 doesn't totally own our heads, because I think they do. We basically we let the villains get the win here. There's no doubt about it. You got people talking mad greasy ahead of the series, ahead of playoffs, really, you know. And it was not like you know, watching those Fudge interviews or whatever. Like, it is not true when Fudge is saying it, and yet it manifests because they are living rent free in our heads.
Yep.
Right? Like it's hard for me to not think that's the case here. That tactic totally worked for them.
I just realized
it's so wrong. Every Disney movie I know, everything about it, it's so wrong.
I just realized that Fudge is Kingpin from the Spider-Man.
Oh, did you just do a Marvel reference on me and expect me to know what you were talking about?
Enter the Spider-Verse is barely a Marvel movie. It's a Sony. It's a Sony. It's not even.
Does it have the superhero Spider-Man in it? Guess what? I haven't seen Spider-Man since Tobey Maguire.
I will say this: as much as Fudge is, doing his supervillain thing, which I think is dumb, Blabber is an Unbelievably likable dude. His interview moment was like, you can't
Best
not
moment of
like
the
that guy
weekend for sure.
for sure. Um, it's a shame because you could tell actually Fudge standing next to him, you could tell that Fudge also is a human being and could appreciate that moment of real like raw humanity. It's a shame that he feels a need to pretend that he is the villain from a movie because I think the whole team would actually be much more likable if you just drop the act. Um,
Yeah, that's
but
just so I tweeted this. It Fudge doing that has felt like when LeBron first went to Miami and he started like, because everybody hated him. He thought
yeah,
he had to be the villain and play the villain, and that's not who
right.
he is. That's not his personality at all. He even had like the black mask on while he was playing when he like broke his nose or whatever,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
orbital bone or whatever it was. It just felt like that to me. It's like, all right, and someone will have to explain to me why. Like, I have a lot of people tell me like, oh, like Fudge is so wholesome, and like I never have gotten that vibe a single moment, but I don't know, people must have something behind that since they keep saying it. But
yeah,
the thing for me is not whether he's wholesome or not. It's like, dude, you have to have a certain amount of like ability and swagger to be able to like play that role.
yeah,
And look, he won this weekend. He's a champion. What am I to say that he's wrong? But at the same time, I know deep down in my heart, he's not that dude. It doesn't fit.
right.
If JoJo becomes that dude, that fits for me a lot better
Yeah,
than Fudge.
yeah,
I don't know what the source of this, like, no, Fudge is good and wholesome thing is for
yeah.
people, but that's what I'm told over and over again. And all I see is a guy who has now taken his place firmly atop the most punchable NA list
Yep.
above Sven, who's on his same team and beat us. And by the way, Sven Yumi popped off so hard and no one was talking about it on the desk. Sven Yumi, like I could not believe how much work he was doing on the stupid cat in our team fights. He went off so hard, and it's on a champion where you can't really get recognition for doing that. But it's like, yeah, like that guy, and you know my history with that guy, and yet here is Fudge, number one, most punchable NA. He's taken his rightful place.
Yeah, it's too bad. It's too bad. I think, especially just when you look at like, I get it. Jensen's kind of that guy too. I think Berserker's hilarious. I think Blabber is just a hugely likable dude.
Berserker's funny and is a bad, bad man.
Yeah, he will be dominating the LCS for the foreseeable future.
Until China poaches him.
Exactly. Until his contract is up and somebody brings a bag to him that he didn't know was possible. But anyhow, that's enough about that. I really like Blabber's moment. I thought that was cool for him. You could tell this meant a lot to him. And I'm glad it got to happen because, a lot of these big moments for him in his career have been during COVID, and he just didn't have the arena to shower on him the appreciation that he got.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah. Well, I'm glad he got his moment. That's cool. I'm just mad at how it worked, because it's like, it feels to me like the second movie in a trilogy where it's like, all right, the bad guys won, and like, they shouldn't have. It's like, no, it's not right. in like a morality sense, it's not right.
Yeah.
Right. Also the good guys had more skill. It just, for whatever reason, isn't showing up at the moment. The problem is we don't know if there's going to be a third movie.
Yeah, right. That's the third movie is not currently greenlit.
They have not. Yeah, they have not received the funding from the studio yet. But it turns out there was only room for one upset this weekend, and that was Mordekaiser losing the cosplay contest.
Oh.
I don't care at all about that at all.
It was a very gracious
tweet. That was the most explicit robbery I've ever witnessed. I wanted to tweet that like Aisha Curry tweet where it's like, this is rigged for money or something, because of what on earth happened there. But unfortunately, as lovable as that Mordekaiser was, used up all of the underdog energy for us. But that's the last thing I wanted to mention about this series, really, is like, most people, most analysts, most fans, whatever, thought we were the underdogs and not C9, despite us being the second seed, despite us winning more recently. I think Raz was like one of the only people on the desk that took us to win, and he took us in a 3-2. Um, so as we talked about C9's run, we talked about them getting lucky because it was like we clearly weren't ourselves, and EG clearly weren't themselves. It still feels like that to me, if I'm being honest. It's like you guys kind of got lucky.
Yeah.
But credit where credit's due, because they played well. Like, there's no doubt about it. I am salty about this loss for sure.
Yeah.
But like, they played well. I just think like they got everybody when everybody had fallen from their ceiling. And I don't what's wrong with our read? Like, our read on this was off. And our read is not just based on like, oh, we're 100 Thieves, so we think 100 Thieves wins. Like, you and I have a long storied history of not being like that. So what do you think we got wrong about this?
I mean,
or did we get it wrong? Or is it still like they're lucky? Or were they truly like, they had just gotten so much better and we weren't seeing it?
So wait, did C9, they beat EG first, then they beat us, then they beat us. Was that
their whole run?
Is that their whole run? That's so bizarre if it is. I think that's it. Well, that's wild. That's a strange format. If you can beat one team twice.
I mean, but the top two seeds,
Oh, did they have to do? I don't know, because I thought they were. Oh no, they're the 5.
So trying to find the bracket so I could see like
CLG and 5.
CLG game 5. Okay, thank you guys. Yeah, thanks for bringing that
up. Yeah, still kind of strange. But anyway, what did we get wrong? Here's my thing. Here's what I think. I didn't think that we would cling to the meta as much as we did. When it became apparent that we couldn't win that way. And so maybe
I agree with
what we're talking about with game 3, where you're like, I thought for sure we'd see a Kaisa or just something different. It just feels like if you didn't know it, if you were watching this game, which goodness help you if this is your first time watching League of Legends, like there's a learning curve to trying to figure out what's happening in this game. I love that even the professionals are still like, lost track of that fight. But if you were just watching this, you would think that League of Legends has about 20 champions in it, right? Like, it was a very tight pool that we were picking from. And I mean, maybe that's just what makes a team better, is the ability to play off meta champions and do it competitively, right? Like, I just think it's been a while since we talked about this, but like the whole idea of playing standard league, it's like you're going to draft the most meta champions you can find. You're going to, go into the team fight and objective stages of the game and execute well there and then win. And I think what we saw is that works unless you have an answer to that kind of play. Like, some metas, it feels like it's poke. And it's like, well, we're all dancing around the dragon, and then half our players were dead, and I guess we have to just leave now. I don't feel like poke champs are really in right now. Doesn't seem to be. So I don't know. It just feels like C9, for whatever reason, they anticipated that we would just stick to the meta, and they came prepared and played against that, and it worked. It worked really well. And so I guess that's, if I had to boil it down to one thing, I'd say I expected us to pivot from that strategy when it became apparent that we're just not that good at these champions. Like, we're just not that good at Poppy. We're really not that good. I would say like at Zeri, Yuumi, Lulu, like the Zeri, Sivir, Enchanter, I don't think we look great on it. And I recognize we had a couple of good games against EG, but it's never been as dominant as the teams who are picking it every time and dominating because they get it. We're not that team. So the other teams can give it to us, and then they play the other side of the matchup and they win. And I feel like that's just kind of what we saw happen. So that was the bummer.
I get what you're saying. I guess my thoughts are more focused on like, what about C9 that I misread, like, not, I know we had our problems, but it's like, what, Like, what was I missing about them? One of them, I think, was just like I believed going into this series that Berserker is the best ADC. Um, when the totality of the bot lane, I think I still felt like at our best we can compete with their bot lane. But honestly, it feels like their bot lane like totally exposed ours. You know, I think like if there's a single playoff revelation for me, it's that like I don't know if it's just the meta because you know, we talked about this last week. We have a meta that is really favoring carry ADCs.
Yeah.
We have someone who is believed to be one of the best ADCs, and it just looked not right. Like most of
Yeah.
playoffs, he had a couple good games here and there. FBI, that is, but for the most part, it felt like our bot lane was being exposed, you know, whether by Cowrie or whether by Berserker. Like our bot lane was not up to the task. So is that you can ask that question of like, is that due to the support meta? Is it due to the ADC meta? Or is it just flat out skill? And I think like we learned that it's probably all of the above, you know, for us. Whereas C9's like on the exact opposite side of that coin, where they have incredible talent in the bot lane and a meta that suits it, right? So it's just like pedal to the metal with that advantage. So I don't think I'm like surprised by Berserker, but I do think I underestimated the bot diff between our two teams.
Yeah.
I think that is one of the things that I probably did not have the right read on for C9 and why I thought it's just like that and the luck thing. Because even though they won and even though they looked easily like the better team against us, I'll still deep down always think like they just got teams with really good timing for them. So
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess my thought about the meta thing is, um, so I guess the luck for us, luck for EG obviously is you're playing EG minus Danny, and that's not the same team that won last split.
mhm.
So obviously that's going to be a different experience. We are the same team. So what's the luck you see in them knocking us out as soundly as they did? Like it doesn't feel like luck to me. I guess I'll say it doesn't feel like,
Well,
oh,
it's just like
is it
it's
meta?
just the ceiling difference. You know what I mean? It's like if you take like what is the gap between the team's ceiling and like where they're playing at? For C9, they're basically playing at their ceiling, and for us, we're playing far below ours. Right?
See, that's the thing. I guess that's the point that I am no longer as confident in. I understand absolutely we have played better. Like when we won our title, it wasn't that we played exactly this well, and C9 is just so much better. So it looks like we're a crappy team. It's not that at all. Like we definitely were better then. We played better. We won decisively. You know, it was awesome. So there's that. The thing that I'm less convinced of is that we still have the ability. And I think the reason for that is look, like Viego was a new champ when we won. So we won because we were able to play that champion basically better than anybody else, right? And we won games because of it. Like you could probably attribute a couple of key games to us having Viego and closer, obviously. Zeri's a new champ. So it's like the same thing. The difference is we are no longer the team that is feared with these, like with the meta picks, with the current
Mm,
best stuff.
yeah.
And I don't really know if you get that back.
Yeah,
Right.
like the
You,
fear is part of it's self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Kind of thing.
right. And so fast forward to spring finals in 2023. Which sounds like an impossible future date that won't actually ever arrive, but that's the next one. Um, it there will be a new champ, and somebody will be the best at it. And can you make the argument that's going to be us? I don't know, because there's nothing about this set of champions. Like Poppy is weird and not new, but it's like very meta. But Zeri, it's like I guess I don't understand how you could say, well, it's just not our style of champ. It's like, that is exactly the style of champ that I feel like
Yeah,
FBI
yeah,
would like to
mhm,
have.
that's fair.
You
Yep.
know, FBI has never been the hyper scaling, like, just like Aphelios was he was great at too when he first came out, for sure. So, yeah, I guess I'm
He's a
just losing
pedal to the
confidence.
metal guy. Yeah, and Zeri
Oh, no
seems like exactly that.
yeah. Allow me to reposition in a team fight, get at people, get behind them, blow them up. You know, yeah, I'm gonna dominate, crush lane, get a huge lead so that when team fights get here, who am I describing? Berserker,
Mhm.
right? Like, he is that guy now. I don't know if we get that back. I really don't.
Yeah, I think there's something to that, unfortunately for us. So
Yeah.
I don't know. We have a lot to see what happens, when Worlds happens. There's going to be a meta shift at Worlds. Like the patch queued up is going to have material impact on how things are playing, and so I think we have an opportunity to find out if this was a bad meta for us or whatever, and probably was. I think like support and jungle wise, probably was. So I don't know. We get to judge at least,
Yeah.
how to what degree that was the case, and that's coming up, and it'll be interesting
Yep.
to see what happens. But overall, it's hard just not to think that C9 was in our heads. We weren't fully prepared. We're having some weaknesses that haven't been able to be fixed. And that's stuff that you don't want to see when a team's been together for a year and a half. So,
Right. Right.
um, before we go into listener takes and stuff, I did want to ask one more kind of unrelated thing. So, if you have anything else to say about the series other than Big Sad,
Yeah. No.
okay. I wanted to ask this. I know we got a few questions about this, so this will probably bleed into some of the listener takes, but um and I'm asking this question not posing it as my position or take, right? On the open discussion for this. In fact, I don't think I've made up my mind on this yet. But as an org, do you think 100 Thieves is missing the significance of like this year for League of Legends, like with Worlds being in NA and with every like they're seeing and the return to like a full size arena for the championship and everything kind of like built up this year. It seems like it's on an elevated plane. It's the 10th anniversary of LCS. They had that really cool opening procession of the great legends that we have in LCS, many of which are before your and I's time. But you still
Yeah.
like, even as someone who like, I never watched Dyrus play, you know what I mean? But like that moment felt like
Yeah.
something real to me,
Right.
like
Right.
seeing
Seeing
the
clips. Yeah.
crowd reaction to that and everything. Like, so there's all this stuff like built up around here. And we have 100 Thieves like announcing their activations pretty late. And them being not too involved, like the activations are a little bit scaled back compared to what some of the other teams are doing. There doesn't
What do
seem
what
to
do you mean activations? I don't even think I've
like
seen
their
it.
sponsor activations and stuff. Like they did a meetup at like a bar or something on the Friday night. They had Daniel was giving out like those coins that said like
Mhm.
so like a thief was here or something like that, which is really cool, by the way.
Yeah.
But like that was kind of it from what I understand. Like they didn't have much of a presence there, even though they had like a lot of personalities actually there. And a lot of people who were there. Let me just read the listener take since we're on the topic, because I know there were a couple on this. One from Zenithu, who was there, who also shouted us out on Hotline League Live, so thank you for that.
Awesome. Do they
Decked
call him
out.
Xanadu or no?
No, they didn't.
Okay.
This time. But he was fully decked out in all his 100T gear. Like Xanthu was representing so hard for 100 Thieves, and that was awesome. But his thing here was 100T was mega lacking on the fan engagement side. We had a last minute event planned out the Friday before. Gabe and DK, that's Daniel, handing out coins and fan signs, and a last minute meet and greet with Tim. Those are cool, but it kind of gets mega outclassed by the other big orgs. Okay. So that was his firsthand experience about that. Now I did want to, so there was someone else whose name I'm not even going to try and say on Twitter is KCINZIKDUCH. So good luck with that.
I think you said it right, actually.
said, talked with some of the marketing staff at Friday event. They felt they couldn't do an on-site event justice. There were lots of rules to follow between sponsorships, and Riot implemented rules on what you can and cannot do. They had great ideas on events to do, but weren't given the okay to. So on their, on the other side, it's like, well, things were restrictive when you factor in Riot and 100T partners and sponsors and what they're able to do. So that was kind of like the reply to that. But I wanted to see what your take was on it. I mean, it sounds like you were kind of unaware of what they were doing, and maybe that's part of the problem, right?
No, that's more just me. I'm not. I've been on Twitter less than usual these days, and I feel like that's where everything gets announced and talked about.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say as someone who's on Twitter all the time.
Yeah.
It came out first. It was like I think like Travis was the first one when LCS announced the list of like all the teams activating and where and when it was going to be. 100 Thieves was not on it, and he posted about that. He was like, "Hey, 2 orgs are not on this, and one is really surprising," and it was 100 Thieves.
Yeah.
And then it was kind of like, I think John Robinson maybe put it in the replies that he's like, "Hey, we are going to activate. They just haven't put our stuff up yet."
Yeah.
Kind of smelled like maybe they were throwing together a plan, like maybe what they wanted to do had fallen through or whatever. I did see DK also reply, but I think John said something too. But so it's like it kind of was out there that we weren't activating, and then we did activate, and the activation was okay, So I don't know. It just, a lot of other teams seem to see this as like a huge moment in time. Whether you're Team Liquid and you want to spend $7 million to make an impression and capture
Wait, were they there
the energy,
doing stuff?
or yeah, Team Liquid was activated, or you're just any other org really, but like it sounds like from what I'm hearing that there wasn't a whole bunch of stuff. So I just wanted to pose that question, like, should we be doing more? Should we expect more around Worlds? I don't think so. I think we would get a more stronger presence from them at, finals weekend. I don't know. Just what do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I have a couple thoughts. One of them is we're new to this, right? Like, think about the big events we've done. None of them have had this type of, like, a lot of them have been during the pandemic. There have been, many other reasons to not do a big like fan meet and greet. Valorant, we still haven't played in front of a live audience because we didn't make it to playoffs for champs. That was the first time they've had it. So I think probably there's a little bit of just like, hey, we don't have, Team Liquid has been doing meet and greets for a decade plus, probably. Like
That's true.
They've got this.
That's true. But on the one hand, we also have very experienced staff with us. And I think more likely than that, than like raw years of experience, this is the first time Worlds has been in NA.
Yeah.
Or that we've had a milestone year for the LCS in the history of 100 Thieves existence. So, another thing to point to, as BC is doing in chat, is the content, right? We know that they scaled back their content approach drastically on the esports side. And I think we all know the reasons for that, right? Like, it was a heavy investment, especially for the quality standard that 100 Thieves has for their stuff. I mean, we have like the best content teams there are, and you have to deliver at a high level. And the heist was great and set this incredibly hard to match standard. And I think like the numbers just weren't justifying the expense of creating that. Is probably how 100 Thieves saw it. And so things just kind of scaled back, right? And we're getting some like Instagram quick hits with Papa Smithy and Tim and stuff like that, which is all good. Which, by the way, shout out to Tim, because I asked, is tracking Turret CS a good or a great idea on his Ask Me Anything on Instagram, and he actually answered it seriously. So, but you see what I'm saying? It's like, look, we're not telling our own story very well here at what could be a very critical time. So yeah. I'm just wondering this out loud. I haven't made up my mind, but
yeah. The other thing is those kinds of things take a lot of time and energy, and they just let go a lot of people. So,
Yeah.
if you have DK and Gabe and Tim as like the meet and greet or like event activation people, it's likely that they were the ones who were kind of putting some of that stuff together. You know, like,
Sure.
hey, you go here at this time.
Yeah.
I mean,
And those staffing decisions are a choice they made too.
for sure. Yeah, that's
And
not again, that's not an excuse. That's an explanation. That kind of stuff, if you want to do it right, takes a big team.
yeah.
It's
And
hard to do.
you know where I come down on all of that, like it just smells like with how the economy was doing, I'm sure word came in from like board people that like, hey, we got to scale back on the expense side, especially because we probably have people who are pretty heavily invested in crypto when the
Mhm.
floor is falling out and everything. So that's kind of, my guess on what happened with that. And so we were just kind of forced to make really crappy,
Yeah.
things happen. And, the ROI on the content is always extremely difficult to judge.
Yep.
How do you know, like, how can you measure how much that's driving you? You know what I mean? Like you and I are basic, like 100 Talk, you and I are basically a product of the heist.
Mhm.
Where's that on a spreadsheet for them? You
Right.
know what I mean? So it's tough. It's just tough. And I think the timing was just bad, probably.
Yeah. Um, yeah, that is I think that's another thing. There's still things I don't feel like you can explain. Um, like who is checking out EG's content? What is their content game looking like? They have more fans than us in the arenas that they're in.
Yes.
Um, and it's not because they have great league content, I'm pretty
No,
sure.
it's definitely not.
No. So it's part of the story, it's not the whole story. There's something else weird going on that is unrelated to any of this,
Mm,
which is just I think that, like, hey, the best way to tell a great story in League of Legends is in on Summer's Rift. Like you could have invested $1 billion in your content team, and it would not have generated the excitement that Danny's pentakill Baron Steel did. It wouldn't. And that's lightning in a bottle. You can't fund a team of people who sit in an office to create that kind of excitement or buzz. Um, and that's you just have to hope, right? Oh, well, I mean, you have to make a good team and let them do work.
yeah.
So I think unfortunately we are operating in that same environment, and they are grabbing a lot of the non aligned fans right now, or even like the aligned but neutral. It's all going to other places, not us.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people theorize that has to do with NA talent, right?
Mhm.
Versus having imports or whatever. I think, there's a larger conversation. Maybe we'll have that. Maybe we should do a pod specifically about this during off season,
Yeah,
because I think like, yeah, people are choosing other orgs over us because of things like that, or things like just, I don't know. I got a lot of thoughts. But
yep,
but we clearly are not like the fan choice for people, despite
yeah,
the great impression we made and the great story it was for us to enter in. So we have lost our hold on that for some reasons, like I think you're pointing out, that are on the Rift, and then some that are more in our control. So, it's just it's a rough thing, but it's a very keen observation, right? That they, EG with no one cares what they're doing content
do they
wise.
have a YouTube channel? Like, I don't even know.
I think
Are
we
they?
get more Twitter engagement than their org does on League of Legends.
Yeah,
Um, and then as pointed out in chat, again, BC always on point, who says like our guys don't even stream. You know what I mean? Like we barely have streams, and like Closer's like Turkish audience is like way bigger than his NA audience and everything. I don't know. There's a lot of factors go into it that maybe we need to consider. But I think the end result is we're not going into Worlds being the first or second favorite team from NA. You know
no,
what I mean? We are going into Worlds. People are going to view us as the weakest team on the Rift and the least likable team there, from NA at least. So
yeah. So let me
it's tough going.
to just drive this point home, right? Evil Genius's YouTube page. The last time they have a video that crested 10,000 views was 4 months ago, and it was the fastest finals in LCS history. That's what it was.
Oh, so that was like
Um,
their finals episode got like 10,000 views?
14,000.
14,000. Well done.
Yeah. Now they had MSI bound 24,000. So listen, there were more people cheering for them in the stadium than watched their finals victory video. So it's people just don't like 100 Thieves. And I don't really know how else to say it.
Yeah.
Like people just don't like 100 Thieves. And now look, it doesn't help that we are now like I heard a stat. This is contractually obligated reaction to JLXP for the week.
Oh, thank you. Good. We needed to do that.
We almost ran out of time. We are now, and this is how we will be talked about, 3-6 in finals appearances. That's our record. Like
that's the LeBron James thing.
That will always be the leading. It's not, wow, this team made it to 3 finals in a row. They are 3-6.
I don't even think it's that. I think it's this team got swept twice in a row at finals. I don't even think they'll rewind back. No one is rewinding back to summer 2021, which, by the way, we dispatched Team Liquid like they were children.
Yeah.
In that series. And doesn't matter. Like 6 months later, no one cares.
No. So, unfortunately, and like, you know, honestly, if you're EG,
BC's pointing out we're 3-9 actually. If you rewind all the way back to 2018,
all the way back. Yeah, exactly, 3-9. So it doesn't get more favorable the further you go. I don't know, man. It's not getting easier out here for us to, and there's a very good chance that at some point in the future we have. I mean, obviously, if you go far enough out in the future, we'll have a different looking team. I honestly don't think that will change anything. I don't think we're going to bring in a player or change our team in a way that's going to make it so people are like, I wasn't really sure about those 100 Thieves, but now, sign me up. We're just going to be everybody's team they love to hate, which is so weird to me. Because we don't have a player on this team. It just baffles my mind. What is there to not like? What is there to actively dislike?
This, man. I told you about this. I said it. I haven't given my robust speech on this, and people are not going to like me saying this. Our own fans are not going to like me saying this, but it's because people think we're the cool kids and they project on us. I'm dead serious. I am dead serious.
Please give now's the time.
No, it's not. We will talk about this in the off season, but I'm telling you straight up that there is a material factor in the equation. It's not the only explanation, but I'm telling you right now, it's true. So our one way out right now, as far as worlds are concerned, get out of groups. That's the only way people will cheer for us.
It won't do it. It won't do it.
It will. I'm not saying it will be permanent, but we will have NA fans cheering for us if we get out of groups because no one else is getting out of groups.
C9 Cole have made it out of like 6 of 7 groups they've been in. There's your chat stat for the day. Beat.
So
I look. We if you rewind a year, we said if we win a title, people have to respect us. They'll have to start. If we do it in a dominant fashion, they'll have to start respecting us. If it's not a fluke, if it's a close series, I get it. I'll let them not respect us. A year later, and we are back to look. The only thing worse that we could have done, there's nothing. This is the worst. Getting to 2 finals back to back and being swept in both of them is actually way worse than finishing 3rd.
Yep, 100%. Well, actually, maybe not this year when we would have finished 3rd to a sub.
That's right. Yeah.
But in most years, I think you're right. Yeah. So I don't know, but I do think that if we make it out of groups, we will have some groundswell of support on a temporary basis. But there are larger pieces of the puzzle to solve, and it's just becoming more and more apparent to me what the cause is. Anyway, let's do listener takes a question because we've already gone super long and we haven't even gotten to these. Like I said, I'm gonna skip over stuff that's related to rosters just for now. We will. I promise you guys, we will have those conversations very robustly after Worlds, but not now. So If I don't read your take here, I apologize, but it's just not the right time for us. So some of this stuff we've already hit as usual, so let's just kind of race through. Miller Time 1919 said, "Do you think our champ pool is limiting us in big games?"
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. We talked about it's and not just the things that we play or do not play, but the things that we can or cannot play against. Clearly, with the Sejuani, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think we were very predictable. And the one time we kind of surprised people was that Game 5 EG game, and after that, there were really no more surprises to be had. So
Yep.
there's that. King Clang said, "I'm proud of this team. My question is, do you think Abadaga has stage nerves? Feel like 2 straight finals in front of crowds that he's underperformed." To be fair to this take, if you rewind to 2021 finals when we won it, I think he, relative to the rest of the team for most of the series, I think he kind of was a little bit more lackluster. It seemed like his playoff run wasn't as cleaner. It wasn't as cleaner. Jeez, wasn't as clean as some of the rest of the guys. So it's like I don't think he played poorly at all. I think he played well, but like he wasn't like quite like hitting on everything. And I think he even said after one of the series that's like the team kind of helped him get through some of that. I mean, he did make the winning TF play in the best of 5 against Team Liquid on Easter Sunday, which was incredible. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if none of this has really felt like a stage nerves thing to me. I just think C9 owns our brains. I think EG was lightning in a bottle, and I think C9 got so deep into our heads, and I don't think that's a stage thing. I think that's just, mentality in another respect.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'll tell you what. The person who looked unbelievably nervous was Curry, and clearly
Did
didn't
okay.
matter for the dude. Which
He did okay.
Honestly, I was very, very glad to see that he was able to have a good performance, just from a this is a really tough thing to ask a person to do. And you could tell how nervous he was. Like, obviously, he was very nervous. So I almost look at that and think, well, if he was that nervous and he played that game, I feel like once the players get into the load in, I have to imagine that for to a certain degree, it just kind of but I don't know. That's maybe not. Maybe he's just ice cold.
Yeah. Don't know where I land on this yet, and that sucks to say after 3 playoff runs. But I think I'll allow for the possibility, but I just doesn't seem like it's that. It seems like something else to me. Raijin said, this is more just like a statement that I thought the end of it was really funny. He said, "Very proud of the team nonetheless. Love this group of 5," which, yeah, for sure. Same here.
Yeah.
"Whatever happens, I hope they know the fans are behind them. Most of them anyway." And I love this because you read it one of 2 ways, and either way it's kind of like, which is like most of the fans are behind them anyways, or the fans are behind most of the players anyway. It's like either way, it's like, ooh, that's icky. So I thought that was really funny. Karlski
we'll support
says,
you unconditionally, mostly. With some conditions.
Yeah. Karlski says, "Do you think the team should hire another mental or nutritional coach like Edward? It seems like they had mental booms at the absolute worst time both splits this year." And I will say, I am fairly sure that the team is working with 1HP. I think I saw the guy who started 1HP tweeting something about working with them. And so maybe if there's anybody from 100T around, I know Papa Smithy sometimes lurks, that could confirm that. But I'm pretty sure that at least in some capacity, 1HP is working with the guys. And I know we love Edward. We love Master Roshi. I'm not I think we give a lot of credit to Master Roshi. I'll say that.
Yes.
I think we as fans give a lot of credit to Master Roshi. And he had great
branding.
He did, and we seemed to have a good mental when he was around. So good for them.
Yep.
Dr. Nolly, Dr. Nostradamus, should I say, our very own Dr. Nolly. I don't know if you saw this, Jordan, but Travis Gafford tweeted a clip from a January Hotline League where he said caller Dr. Nolly correctly predicted the entire fate of Team Liquid's season back in January, and he did. He posted the full clip up there, and Dr. Nolly got it exactly right, saying that they would not only fail to win a title in either split, but that they would not qualify for Worlds. Which at that time,
laughed off the show.
Yeah. That was a fiery hot take. That was the Ghost Reaper take back at the time, and now he was right. So shout out to Dr. Nolly, aka Dr. Nostradamus. He asks, do you think 100 Thieves needs to watch Rec League? That way they know how to 3-0. Shout out Dr. Nolly, representing for the EG proxies versus the 100T proxies match, or even the 100 Thieves versus Flight Check, 100 Talk versus Flight Check series. 3-0s thoroughly in both directions.
And we'll tweet this clip one split from now when we have a live VOD review of Rec League with the guys before the next finals, and they 3-0. And then
we'll fly out to LA and conduct that VOD review with him.
We'll have to. Yeah.
Okay. Chandler Grote, I think he told me how to say this and I already forgot it. So sorry, Chandler. That's bad of me. I'm sorry. He says, it sucks to lose like a lot, but I'm proud we made it to the championship game for the third straight split. I also hope we can stop all the roster talks till after Worlds. Season's not over yet. And that's a nice reminder. Again, meta has potential to shift pretty majorly. And we've got some time to wait. We don't have to play play-ins. We can mental reset a bit. Who knows what's going to happen? This conversation may feel entirely different, in just a few short weeks. So I also want to add, yes, I'm also proud that we've done this. As I mentioned on previous podcasts, we are the most winning regular season team over the last 3 splits. And someone said that someone in Oracle's Elixir Discord included the 4th split and said we were still the most winning, which I was surprised by, but cool. At least for the last 3. So shout out to 100 Thieves. Whew. Okay. Let me pick my spots with Sammy, who wrote us a novel with like 3 takes in it. So kind of skimming this. He said, Solo has comfortably been dethroned by Fudge as most punchable NA, and it's not even close. 100% agree, as I mentioned earlier.
I like that your award is catching.
Most punchable NA, yeah. My second take is that it feels incredibly hard to be gracious in defeat when you've got an org like C9 who are arguably the biggest sore winners I've ever seen. You could say this is just me being salty, but I didn't feel this way after EG did the same thing to us in spring. I don't know about this because I didn't watch everything. I didn't watch the post-game pressers from their side. So I know that Jensen made a snarky comment about Steve at Team Liquid, It's like, thanks for finally helping me win, an LCS title or whatever. But I expected Fudge to be way spicier about this than he apparently has been. He's still at the top of my most punchable list, but to my knowledge, maybe I'm wrong, and if I'm wrong, link me. It seems like he was more of a ridiculous man before the series than after. But I get feeling that way. So you guys link me to stuff if I missed it. Because I'm always down to like get mad about this.
You're always up to change your opinion to be less favorable of Fudge.
Yeah. But I felt like, even C9 tweeted, there's, congratulations on winning NA C9. There's no way to come back. I think it's a good natured enough thing. And Jack, who I'm not a fan of, was very gracious in a tweet to Nadeshot. And Nadeshot was taking criticism from people, which I think was kind of undeserved. So, I don't know. I don't have the full picture, but what I've seen, don't fully agree on that. I'm going to save Sammy's third take, which please don't send me multiple takes, but I do want to talk about one of these topics. And Cadet Kim said something to say that ties into that. So let's just pass that over for right now. Germ of I am Germ asked, do you think right now, like slash this patch, C9 is just better than 100T, or that 100T just didn't show up yesterday? If they did show up, do they just make it a close series, or could they have beat that C9? So I think the second part of that question is the interesting question, right? It's like,
Yeah.
did they, like, so say we do hit the ceiling that we're talking about, what was the result of that series?
Look, I think this is just us playing as well as we can on this patch. And again, that's an explanation, not an excuse. Like, you don't get to brush away a devastating finals loss because the patch was unfavorable to you. If you want to win finals, you have to be able to beat the other team almost regardless of what the patch is, I think. Otherwise you will lose more than you win. And unfortunately, that's the position we find ourselves in right now. And I think that's a big problem, right? So I think to specifically answer this question, I think if we did show up, like if we were a team able to play at our ceiling on this patch, like if you just say, okay, theoretically 2021 summer versus 2022 summer, if we played at that level, if this patch we could play at that level, absolutely, I think we can beat them. I don't think there's a question about that. I mean, we 3-0'd TL, and I don't think people would say that was a bad TL team, or like oh, you got an easy road to that one. So yeah, I think we could. We didn't, and we couldn't. So it's, that's not me defending the performance or saying that we should look more favorably on it.
I think the patch though is more of an added bonus to C9 than it would have been to us, even at our ceiling. So hard to say. I don't know. It's just we played so badly. It's hard to say. We might have won it. Sen said, take meta's bad, go next, get better meta read, increase champ pool for all lanes, equals get out of groups, take the whole thing, copium overdose. Shout out to Sen, who was at the event and representing 100T very well.
Absolutely.
And still on the hopium. That's not even copium. That's hopium right there. Get out of groups, take the whole thing. I like it. Your main guy says, my take is that we should have come in third in playoffs. If Danny is on the roster, they easily knock us out. Our level of play isn't up to the par for the world stage. And if we don't have drastic improvements, we don't make it out of groups despite the group that we're in. I think like the latter part of that is unequivocally true. If we don't make improvements, we're not getting out of our group. There's no way we're going to beat, both RNG and I'm blanking. Who's the LCK team?
Flying Oyster. Oh, sorry. What's that?
No, who's the? Oh gosh, who's the at the top of our group? Wow, I can't believe I'm blanking on this. Group D. Oh,
Gen
it took me to FIFA. Yeah, Gen G. That's
Thanks,
right. And Gen G, who's like, I've watched actually a ton of Gen G. They're like the team that I've usually been watching when I watch other regions, and they look incredible. So thank you for clearing up. I was just blanking on that. So yeah, I don't think we make it out of groups if, in that case. No. I'm not sure. I mean, if Danny's on the roster and we played like that, yeah, we probably lose that series. So I guess that takes fair. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Like, I think if EG's playing at the level they were at before, then yeah, I think they beat us for sure.
Yeah.
I would say, yeah, I think for this take, yep, that's it.
Okay. That was your main guy. Urge to Surge said, I'm proud that the team made it to finals. The team shows a lot of grit to fight their way to second place, which I think that's so weird about this. Is it's true that they showed a lot of grit to get through that EG series when it looked so bad. Then he said, I'm salty at the fact that everyone got gapped minus someday. Bot, mid, and jungle were extremely lackluster this weekend. And I agree with that. And I don't want Closer to escape that because, he's been, especially when it comes to playoffs, he's been like a key player for us. He's made insane plays. He's been so good for so long. He was not much of a factor for us, especially against C9, I think, we got an underperformance from virtually everybody, if not everybody.
Yep.
Okay. So let's finish this portion out with the last part of Sammy's take. He said, and this is something we've talked about before, so we don't need to like super deep dive this, but I like hearing other people's weighing in on this. He said, my final take, I feel like the League of Legends scene, esports specifically, is held back by the toxic personalities within it. As someone that came into the scene with 100T and franchising in 2018, just like
Same.
Jordan and I, and has gradually got more involved ever since, I've come to realize it more and more. It makes you not want to invest your time and energy when you've got personalities like LS pooping on everyone and other personalities following suit. It's just so toxic and suffocating. Constructive criticism seems like a novelty when the popular thing to do is be a, we'll say, jerk.
Yep.
And this is something we've talked about a lot because it's, you know, it's like the clickbait race and the like, I don't know. I'm going to get back into my take about why people don't like 100 Thieves if I'm not careful, but it just seems like computer people think it's cool to hate on other people. You know, like people who like to play video games like to go hard and make fun of people and get status that way, you know? And that's really unfortunate because I do think it does actual damage to like player mentality and player development in North America. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. 1 second before you weigh in, Jordan, I'll read Cadet Kim's weigh in on this because she responded to that tweet. She said, I kind of agree with you, to be honest. I used to throw myself into any and all things League of Legends content related, but in the last couple of years, it's more draining than enjoyable. I would rather just watch the games and that's it. And even that isn't as enjoyable anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that's the part where I'm like, I'm intrigued by this take because like it does seem just like a destructive effect, right?
Yeah.
Like without the, like, it's not even just that like so many people are negative. It's like there has stopped being more positive or neutral content, right? It's like teams are just making less content in general, 100 Thieves especially, but all teams are making less content.
Right.
You know, and we don't have like hype pieces anymore.
Yeah.
And we don't have like promos anymore, really. And it's just like, yeah, it is harder to like get into stuff, I think, nowadays.
Yeah.
Everybody who's watching this show, like we're all deeply invested in this, like for better or for worse, you know, like it's hard to let go of this. But I do think in many ways it's like a less enjoyable experience content wise these days. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think probably what happens is, well, it's interesting, right? There are many knock-on effects. I think one of them is, it disincentivizes orgs from like, is an org going to come out with a hit piece about another team's player? No, like that's not appropriate. And if you do a whole bunch of work to make really cool content about your team, people are not as interested because it's not talking about, you know, and like, look, there's, and I talked to you about this, there's scientific research that shows that people are more interested in negative than positive.
Yeah.
And, you know, not this, not going to turn to a lecture, but like it's kind of hardwired into our brains, right? Like we are naturally biased to negative information. If you see 100 friendly animals and one unfriendly animal, you need to pay attention to the unfriendly animal because it could kill you. So it really does kind of go back like a long time, you know, a long time. Our brain has evolved this way over. So Twitter is that played out on a large scale, right? Like people are much more drawn to watching people be negative on Twitter and YouTube. And that's the unfortunate reality. And the same is true for all different kinds of content. It sucks. I hate it. I think everybody hates it. Like everybody realizes that it's bad. And it's just how we're wired. And I think one of the things that happens is the proliferation of that kind of content and the success of it and the people getting paid off it means that there's a lot less incentive for people to try to make positive content. And that's true with news. It's true with league content. It's true with all kinds of stuff. And that's too bad. That's too bad. You know, and I think that's this take, you know, from Sammy, from Kim's, But I think it's right. Like, I think what it does is it for those who don't want to just wallow in self despair and the Schadenfreude of watching other people suffer and fail, you're left with fewer options, right?
Yeah.
Like there are just less things out there that are fun to watch if what you're not doing is getting this like really negative um like it's like the sugar high that you
Yeah.
get. It's completely
It's
empty
like a cheap,
calories.
empty calories.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's good. That's
So,
good. That's what it is. Uh,
but it's easy to sell empty calories at the grocery store too, right? There's a reason we have that saying. It's because this is true in all kinds of different places. We don't often gravitate towards what's best for us because it's not what's the most fun.
Yeah. I just want to point out that I, got an urgent message from our partner, and I just want to point out these are not empty calories. These are calories that do a very good job of keeping you awake and alert and ready to game, ready to work. You know,
Yeah.
just
Whatever
want to
you
point
need to
that
do.
out. No, but I think like because it's interesting because if you think about LCS actually did some really cool content this year, right? That
Mhm.
contracts piece, did you see that?
I didn't actually watch it,
It
but
was
I know
like
it's
it
out
was
there.
like a longer documentary about contracts life story.
Yeah.
Talks about his mom and her struggles and like their struggles as a family and what it means to him. It was incredibly good. And then actually like the promos they shot for finals weekend were very good, you know.
Yeah.
And LCS has done these content pieces that like I don't know, they fill some of that void, but there's a couple problems with it. And one is it's not enough and not consistent enough. And I think a lot of that is because, as we've mentioned before, they don't seem to be that assertive and proactive about gathering information and narrative and trying to tell those stories. But the other thing is, it's just drowned out because why watch that when you can like pull up double lift clips or IWD clips? It's like
Yeah.
you just that stuff is available and easy and empty calories, like you said. And those influential personalities who came up early in the League of Legends series, you have first movers advantage is always so strong. These people are the first movers, right? And what did
Yeah.
they choose? They chose to be jerks all the time.
Mhm.
What did they do with that power and position? They just ruined our region, you know, for whatever reason. Whether it's like you're saying, like trying to capitalize on just like negativity and what it does for your numbers, or
Mhm.
whether it's jealousy for not being able to be there anymore,
Yeah.
or trying to like, to be like, no, well, back in my day, blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
But whatever it is, it sucks. It really, really sucks. And the whole scene suffers because of it. And no one
Yeah.
cares about the good content anymore. So,
Right. Right.
well,
Well, and I think that sorry, one last thought on this.
yeah.
I have made this point before. I think part of what we're missing is the the look, it can't all be a numbers game. It can't all be how many views did you get. The contracts piece got 30,000 views, right? That's that can't be how you justify its existence. What it does is it humanizes a player who otherwise people might not feel as drawn to, right? And and I think that's part of the challenge. The I maintain, I've said this before, the best I've seen an organization do this is the UFC. And
Yes. Oh my
they
gosh.
used to
Yes.
do amazing, and it wasn't like long form
No.
leading up to fights because they understood the story is compelling. The fights are incredibly entertaining, and that's cool too. The story is what's compelling. The players are the product, right? The fighters are the product, or whatever it is. I mean, UFC even more so than LCS for sure. Um, and they were at their best. I feel like for me, the peak of it was when they had these players. I was really invested in. I felt super like I was a
Same here.
huge fan. I would not miss a fight from that person. I would buy every pay-per-view event. So if you put that on YouTube, how many people are watching the John Jones, like 2012, 13 era clips?
Yeah.
Probably not that many. But I traveled to Toronto to see him fight live, right? Like, so there's this and whether or not he is the best fighter of all time, or, like, he's only good because everyone else sucks. It's like, no, he's great. It's a great story. Unfortunately, he crashed and burned kind of due to his own decisions. But at least as a fan, it it was something that I could very easily invest my time and energy into and my dollars to go to the UFC. I appreciated what they did for him.
And then
for
guess
me.
what? There's like Conor McGregor after that. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
it was a machine. Now there is an important distinction here in that you're right, the players are the product and the players are, figuratively speaking, owned by UFC, right? The UFC has these players on contracts. The player teams aren't responsible for all that marketing. UFC is.
Right.
And there's a difference because now, you have the league and then you have the orgs. And the orgs started out telling the stories really well.
Yep.
And the league didn't really have to so much. And now the orgs are not telling the story quite as well. And the league is not totally picking up the slack. You know what I mean? So somebody has to step up and do that for them.
Right.
I don't know. I honestly, that's what I've been saying. Riot has a ton of money. I think they need to beef up their staff when it comes to covering teams and covering the league if they really want to make that a mature. I mean, look, we're talking about beat writers and stuff. Like, I know it sounds silly, especially numbers wise, right? But it's like how much does it hurt Riot's pocket if they have 10 beat writers assigned to each team?
Yeah, pay them per piece.
Yeah,
pay them like
if they're just full time. If they're just podcasting and like Twitch streaming and then writing an article or two every week, like, how much is that denting Riot's wallet to pay for that? You know what I mean? It just feels like there needs to be more effort put into that, and there just isn't.
That's the thing, and it brings us back to 100T a little bit. Look, when financial times are hard, you have to make hard decisions. I'm sure nobody wanted to cut staff.
Yeah.
But they had to make a business decision that I'm sure nobody was excited about. You have to make those hard decisions in a business. It's just part of running the show.
Yeah.
You give things up when you do that. And I think so my concern with the LCS, my concern with 100 Thieves, and then I'll ask what you're laughing about after that, is you have to make these decisions shorter term, right? There's something pressing going on that you have to address immediately so that you can remain solvent. And if you don't do that, it might be that you have this grand ambition for 10 years from now, but you can't pay the bills this month. That's a problem, right? Like this year. I'm sure they weren't on a month to month. But like you're mortgaging your future a little bit, right? Like, what are you actually giving up when you make these cuts? What is the LCS actually giving up when they allow the narrative to become written by people who only have short-term financial incentive in mind? None of the people who are constantly dogging on the LCS really are invested in the LCS remaining a vibrant product for decades.
They're just leeches.
They're paying their bills. They're literally paying their bills. And that's fine. Everybody needs to pay their bills, but they are not in a position where they're financially obligated to think about the future of the product. That's Riot. So Riot kind of has to do something here to counteract the fact that the story right now is being told by people who have a 1 year, vantage point at most. And that's you can't have a viable product 5 years from now if every decision, if every story that's being told is looking no further than the next stream, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to invest in the future. And I'm not convinced they're doing it.
There's so much to this. So the reason I was laughing is because, I was talking about how much of a dent to their wallet is it. And then Andres Day in chat said 1 Lux skin would be more than enough to cover, which is it's actually true. They print money with a skin design.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
There's that. And then the other thing I want to say is like, you're talking about like teams, like making tough decisions and staff and all that stuff. And I want to make something really clear because people look at orgs and act like they just have like massive war chests and infinite amount of money. And even with those high valuations and even with those like, funding rounds and everything and spending $35 million on your HQ and all this stuff, like, okay, yes, there's clearly some money there and some investment there. Even so, Riot is not the same. Riot is like an unstoppable titanic force with insane amounts of money. And they can shell out for a little more investment, I think. And one of the, going back to traditional sports, this didn't come from the league per se, but like a lot, if you really go back to it, a lot of the reason why the NBA became so culturally dominant from like 2010 to like 2017, 18 was because there was incredible amount of journalism and content around it. The reporters were materially affecting how those stories were told, what you knew about the players, what you learned about the scene. There's previously uncovered levels of information about the front office operations and everything. And like journalists did that, right? And that was a unification of the league and their decision making with how much access do we give and how much, support do we give to people trying to accomplish this, and then the outlets that were paying for those journalists, right? Riot can do all of that in one swoop, man. It feels like I don't know. It'll never happen. It'll never happen. But
I mean, I will say that the comments you have about orgs is absolutely true. Yeah. I think for a while there, people had make believe money because they had all the crypto money, but that's no longer available, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it. I mean, Riot is the same, right? They're owned by Tencent. They have to issue earnings. They have to answer to their stakeholders or their shareholders rather. So they can make $1 billion, but if that's 250 million less than they made last year, they're cutting their teams. Right.
Mm-hmm.
They will have things they're not doing with $1 billion.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's amazing how quickly you can spend an incredible amount of money when you have multiple games you're designing, multiple games that aren't even released yet. You've got a TV show that you're working on. You've got a second season that's been
just toss in another Lux skin, bro.
Yeah, more. I guess everybody loves the Lux skins. I doubt it's making them $1 billion each time they release one of those things.
More like 100 million. You're right.
Yeah, but I'm like they've got to run the same business, so I get it. It's nobody has free money.
You're never going to convince a stakeholder with that argument either. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
I know it's like that. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's gonna be like, how many views did you get on that? And they're like 8,000. It was pretty good. And they're like, okay, stop it.
Yeah.
No more of those for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know what the solve is. Obviously, this is a good topic. We should revisit this
we don't even know what we're talking about anymore. We just played in a finals this weekend and we're off doing 45 minutes on these topics. That's how bad the weekend was for us. Gosh, dang it, man. What a rough weekend. Well, at least we still are the winningest regular season org of the past little while. At least we're going to Worlds and we don't have to go through the freaking gauntlet of play-ins this year. That is insanity. At least we still have a team of 5 dudes that we love so much and we have great memories of. And we get another chance to see this team play in what we hope to be, a better meta and with some rest, with some strategy. And that's what we're going to hope for. Yeah. I know this was a tough weekend, but, I'm still going to be repping under Thieves very strongly in our home country,
Yeah. And we're going to be there to see them in semifinals.
Yeah. All right. Well, semifinals in Atlanta. Let's go. See you there, 100 Thieves, players, fans, and staff. All right. Let's wrap because we've gone for so long. But thanks everybody for watching, sending in your takes, sending your questions. I've so much of the fan base. I understand everybody's disappointed. I've seen a lot of people still showing love and supporting the guys, which is great. I love to see that. Yeah. Let's just look forward to Worlds, and I guess at this time, we're kind of playing with house money because it's like, it can either go well or it can be more of the same, Yeah. So feels like there's not a whole lot to lose here. There's a lot we could potentially gain. So I guess I'm going to have that mentality going into it.
Yeah. I mean, like if we 06 groups, didn't TSM do that? And look where they're at. So yeah, there's
oh, stop it, man. You just made this much worse.
It's not
and with that pleasant thought, we, your dads, say we love you and we miss you
Oh,
already.
take care.